How high should you be selecting Travis Kelce this season? Why should you be moving up Jets on your draft board? And is Joe Mixon, despite Roger Daltrey's pleas, fooling us again? Plus, the second best commissioner in fantasy football history, Brice Masters, hops aboard to answer all your FFPC drafting questions tonight and much more. We've got a great show for you. Brice Masters is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
I can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than neither lesser make horrible messes. Make the hit forever. Just cause it was right there in the dresser so easy. Pick me up, kiss me, and you squeeze me.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com, with your hosts Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here's Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you to the Quiet Howlers. Remember to check out their music at quiethowlers.com. Greetings and salutations to all the Balkaholics out there. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is a very special one tonight. We'll get to his introduction shortly. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to zing you on Titans wide receiver targets from Ryan Tannehill, tell you how to handle Mike Williams in 2021, and the most famous commissioner in FFPC history, Brice Masters, joins me to show you that he is not the same person as me. He makes his debut tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Shout out to the chat room right now. You can post any questions you might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, please do so at HSFFO or at Eric Balkman. And of course, Brice is at Brice Masters. You can always learn more about the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com as well. Post on our Facebook page at facebook.com/HSFFO too. If you want to chime in and give us a call, please wait till next week because we are not accepting phone calls tonight because of the recording of the program. You can also email the show, as always, at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you do have any questions for us, send them in now. Want to thank our producer and mutual friend, Rob, and of course, the next person we're going to thank. Let's bring him on right now. Now I want to bring in tonight's extra special co-host. He is already the co-host of the Hard Edition podcast, a writer, a chef, a mixologist, and allegedly your favorite FFPC commish. He's here tonight to drop some fantasy football knowledge on you and take plenty of shots at me. You follow him on Twitter at Brice Masters. Please welcome tonight's co-host, Brice Masters. Oh, and my best friend, Brice Masters, as you you've been a genius audio engineer for this podcast for many years. Thanks so much for taking some time off commission to talk a little shop with me tonight.
Oh, of course. I'm happy to finally be here after many years of me telling you that I want to be on your show.
I said that the Red Sea had to part, the stars had to align, and then once both those happen, then we'd have you on. We might. I can't.
What, like 8 years later?
Yeah, exactly. But I'll tell you this. There's a chance that we might make this an annual thing. I haven't made up my mind on that yet. I have to talk with Farrell but it might be this weekend every single year. We'll see. That's not important. Nobody cares about it. Before we talk fantasy football, what can you share with the listeners about what you're doing for a living when you're not co-hosting the Hard Edition pod, when you're not commissioning FFPC and Football Guys drafts?
Well, I mean, some people know this, and a lot of people don't, is that I obviously work with you year-round, and I work with Dave as well. I've been working with WatchGo
Dave the Dizzle Gerzak, just in case anybody's not familiar.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The Dizzle, as you call him. I think we're going on 11 years now. I've been working with you guys. And outside of doing Amazon e-commerce management stuff, I do freelance work where I program, build websites, and do art, that kind of stuff.
So you're a nerd.
So nothing too crazy. Yes, I'm a huge nerd.
Oh, okay, understood. All right.
That is
So
not surprising to anybody.
right, yeah. Well, what else is not surprising to at least me? Not only are you a self-professed nerd, but you're a self-professed big Lions fan as well. And I think one
Yes,
of the
I am.
things that people are trying to unlock in drafts this year is the Lions' backfield. It seemed like early on,
Sure.
everybody was all about DeAndre Swift because year two, and he's an up-and-coming running back. He was a high draft pick. Then the Lions went out and signed Jamal Williams in free agency, which kind of muddled it. And then they were also connected to Todd Gurley as well. So as we get as close to the Lions source as we can here, Brice, what do you make of this running back situation in Detroit? Is it still we're balling out on DeAndre Swift, or should we exercise some caution? And by the way, before you answer that, I should bring this up too. Big shout out to fantasymojo.com, Darren Armani, who helps put together the Pros vs. Joes each and every year. I'm going to bring, and he also, by the way, if you are drafting in the FFPC or Football Guys Players Championship and you do not have subscription to Fantasy Mojo, you are doing it wrong. I'm going to talk about the ADP over the last 5 days in the Football Guys Players Championship when I reference ADP here. But Swift right now, Brice, is going as running back 16 at the 304, so early third round there. Jamal Williams going as running back 41 at the 910. So tell us a little bit about what we need to know about this Lions backfield.
So Jamal Williams seems a little bit high. The main thing to take away from the Lions backfield is that just the other day, the Lions offensive line was ranked, I think, 10th overall, somewhere around there, with the ability to improve, obviously, because of how strong their O-line is now, especially with the drafting of Penei Sewell, or Penei, I don't know how to say his name.
Penei Sewell? Let's go with
Penei
that.
Sewell. Thank you. That sounds right.
I'm
with
not
the drafting,
saying it is right. It just sounds right.
With the drafting of him, that solidifies the Lions O-line for many, many years to come. Ragnow is obviously fantastic. And going forward, it's going to give the running backs a lot of options. Now, Jamal Williams brings a lot of energy and a lot of sort of goal line, punch it through kind of running. But I still think the player that you should be the most targeted to is Swift. Third round seems about right. And that's obviously where I've been seeing him drafted as well in our leagues. But I think he's going to be better than predicted. With the O-line opening up options for him, I think he's going to be taking a lot of catches. I think he's shown that he has good hands, with the exception of that first game last year where he dropped the game-winning pass that hurt my heart when I was in Vegas. And we also can't count out Jamar Jefferson, who we drafted this year, or who the Lions drafted, because you get all annoyed when I say it.
There you go. That's the proper way to say it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Who the Lions drafted in the 7th round. He also brings a large amount of explosiveness, and I think they're going to kind of do very featured Swift usage, especially to catch balls. And then when it gets close to goal line or 3rd and 1 and 2, and they need to just punch it through, it's going to be a combination of Jamal Williams and Jamar Jefferson. I don't think Williams should be that high as running back 46. That seems a little bit too high for me. I think he's going to be kind of a change of pace guy, not a bell cow.
Getting back to Swift, would you rather, if you believe that he fits, so you're thinking, so he's going at running back 16 right now. You think he finishes higher than that, right? Okay. So would you
I
rather,
think he does, for sure.
Would you rather draft him or Aaron Jones, Football Guys Players Championship?
Ooh, that's hard. Is Aaron Rodgers playing or not?
Well, if
in this hypothetical,
we don't know, because we got drafts going off all the time, and nobody knows for sure. But potentially not even Aaron Rodgers. So if knowing what we know at this point, would you rather draft Swift or Jones?
I'd rather draft Swift.
And
I really would.
Next up, how about DeAndre Swift or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Ooh, Clyde, I think is the better pick there.
Okay. All right. So I mean, you're about a half round higher on Swift than everybody else right now, which is fine. And that will probably ebb and flow as the season goes on. All right, moving on. Let's say you have the number 2 pick in a Football Guys draft. Obviously, 1.5 PPR for tight ends.
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey, let's just say Christian McCaffrey goes off the board. Are you of the opinion that you're still going to take a running back at 102? Or has Travis Kelce shown you enough over the course of the last, really half decade that he should be the pick 2nd overall?
No, I would still go running back. And specifically, I'd probably go Cook.
All right, Brice, why do you hate Travis Kelce so much?
I don't hate him. I think teams specifically game plan for him, which is the smartest thing to do. He's a very prolific pass catching tight end. He's great at what he does. But if you're going to have the second pick overall, I'd much rather go running back and aim for somebody like Darren Waller if you're going to try to get a premium tight end, because Waller is basically a wide receiver with a T in front of his name.
What is okay? So if you had your druthers, you could have any tight end. Would you take Kelsey first, or would you take Waller over Kelsey?
I think that's a hard.
Waller's
I really
getting
like
some
Kelsey
steam lately. It seems like
yeah,
there's a lot of people talking up Darren Waller.
Yeah, I think based on what we saw last year with Waller and just how many targets he got, I think he is, especially in a PPR league, and ours are all PPR, I think I would target Waller over Kelsey, because Kelsey is such a known, and Waller is kind of this still upstart tight end that seems to be able to do everything. He's very physical. He just trucks through people, and he catches almost everything thrown his way. I think Waller is going to be potentially the number one tight end this year.
And if he is your first tight end that you would select, how early in the first round would you take Darren Waller?
Oh, somewhere near the end of it. I mean, if the running backs, the premier running backs are all gone, somewhere between rounds or picks 8 and 12, I'd target Waller if I was going for tight end as my first round pick.
All right. So would you take Saquon Barkley over Waller?
Hell no.
So you're taking,
Absolutely not.
Well, maybe that's more of a commentary on Barkley than anything else. What about Ezekiel Elliott? Would you take him over Waller?
And Dak's probably healthy this year.
Yeah. Yep.
I'd probably take Zeke over Waller.
Austin Eckler
with
or Darren
Dak.
Waller? Right. Austin Eckler or Darren Waller?
Darren Waller.
See, I think you're actually higher on Waller than you might think. Would you take Waller over Tyreek Hill?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so now
I would take Hill.
So based on ADP, we know you're taking McCaffrey, Cook, Kamara, Henry over Waller, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so those four players, you're taking Hill over them, right?
Yep.
Taking Hill over Waller, that's fine. Okay, and then Elliott, you said yes to?
Yeah, I would take Elliott.
Okay, so, I mean, that puts Waller like 7th overall for you. So that's smack dab in the middle of the first round. See,
well, I mean, if I was targeting tight end first.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is like, okay, so if, let's say you're not targeting a tight end, let's say you're just going to take best player available in the first round, would you take Darren Waller as high as the mid-first then? Or is that
probably
running back Tyreek territory there?
I mean, who else would be available then? Like, so I would take Waller over Eckler for sure.
Right. You would. What about Jonathan Taylor?
I don't trust Jonathan Taylor enough yet to want to take him over Waller. So yeah, I guess when we figure this out and talk it out, I would absolutely go Waller.
Yeah, because you're taking Waller over Barkley. I mean, at that point, he is your 7th, and we already know you're taking him over Kelsey, so that he'd be your 7th pick there. So interesting stuff there. I didn't realize this would turn into a Darren Waller podcast, but I guess it did. Let's get rid of the tight end talk, at least for the moment, Brice.
Sure.
Who has a better fantasy year this year? Not real life football, but better fantasy stats. Is it DeAndre Hopkins or is it Calvin Ridley? Because this is a decision that a lot of people are making in drafts right now. Calvin Ridley was going behind DeAndre Hopkins until, I would say, about a week before Julio Jones was traded. You saw Ridley go up. Ridley now is wide receiver 3 at the 206. DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 5 at the 208. Which one is going to finish better?
I think Ridley is absolutely going to finish better. While I think that everybody knows that DeAndre Hopkins is a fantastic receiver. I think the way that the teams are structured between the two of them, I think Ridley has the better opportunities to get just the high volume of touches and targets. He has proven himself, even with Julio Jones, that he's a legitimate wide receiver 1. And obviously Nuck is as well, but I think Ridley, with the way that the Atlanta Falcons are structured, he is just going to have a year.
To piggyback on that, let's say you're commissioning a Football Guys draft. What's your reaction when you see Kyle Pitts being selected in the 2nd or 3rd round?
I think that's crazy.
Why? Because he's a rookie, or you just don't think the talent is going to come. He's not going to near his ceiling in year 1. Why do you think Pitts in the 2nd or 3rd is crazy?
Because it's that whole like everybody, and it's not everybody knows this, but I mean, with the exception of Gronkowski, and I don't even know, I'd have to look back at his stats, but it takes typically tight ends a year to kind of adjust to the NFL. And while I think Pitts is going to be eventually a really, really good tight end, I don't think he's gonna make that big of an impact his rookie year as people are drafting him at. Like Hawkinson is the most Gronkowski type
Here we go.
tight end that's come out.
We're getting the Lions talk now.
Oh yeah, we are.
So you're obviously taking Hawkinson over Pitts, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
He came out and everybody thought he was going to be fantastic his rookie year. He was okay, and I think Pitts is going to be okay, but he's definitely not worth a second or third round pick.
I was actually at Caesar's Palace, I believe, and I drafted TJ Hawkinson against my better judgment in a couple of leagues. And then week 1, did he have 2 touchdowns or just one touchdown?
I think he had 2.
He had a really good week 1. And I'm like, oh my goodness, here he's bucking the trend, and then it never came together for him. But he is super talented. He's going to get a lot of – you think he leads the Lions in catches this year?
Oh, who the hell else are they going to throw it to? Tyrell Williams and Brashad Perryman? No,
I think he's – Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's going to be a very interesting slot guy, kind of like Tate was. But I think the 2 highest pass-catching targets on the Lions are DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson.
Do you, because you kind of hold it against tight ends in their rookie year, do you also hold it against receivers in their rookie year as well?
Depending on what kind of receiver they are, yeah. When you're talking about like fly receivers, ones that just run a straight line real fast down the field, like Hill, I think they can convert from college football to pro football pretty easily. Their job is to run really fast in a straight line, get ahead of the ball, and catch it. When it comes to technical guys like slot dudes and guys that play the midfield, I think that takes just as much time to kind of understand how the game works as it does like a tight end or a slot style running back.
Kyle Pitts or Mark Andrews?
Ooh, I don't like Mark Andrews at all, and mostly because Lamar Jackson can't throw the ball worth a damn. Depending on where Pitts had fallen, like if you made it to like the 5th or 6th round.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing: Pitts normally goes at the 304. We already said Mark Andrews goes at the 407.
Yeah, that's still way too early for Mark Andrews.
Okay, all right. So let's go down the list here. Dallas Goedert at the 605. Is that a spot you'd want to get in business with there? The Eagles tight end.
Yeah, that's not bad. I like Goddard. He plays very much like Ertz, and I think he has the physical ability and the talent to be really good. Yeah, that's not bad for him.
What do you make of George Kittle this year? Bounce back?
I think so. I really do. I think Kittle is phenomenal when his team around him kind of does things that they're supposed to, not like last year. He definitely has the ability to be a very, very good tight end. And I think this year, especially if, their quarterback situation works out better, I think he'll be way up there.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm going to, if I'm going to try and give the listeners the Cliff's Notes for the commission's FFPC tight end advice, it's this. Try to grab Kelsey, Waller, or Kittle early. If you don't get them, grab Hawkinson at the end of the 3rd round. But if you don't get them, then you're not looking at tight end until like the mid-6th, where you get Goddard, Fant, Logan Thomas, Tyler going forward. So just
we should qualify this with that.
You're avoiding Pitts and Andrews.
Yeah, quite a bit, because I think Andrews is going to be a perennial bust because Lamar can't throw the ball, and I think Pitts is going to be good 2 or 3 years from now. But we should qualify this with I am terrible at fantasy, so you probably shouldn't listen.
You're not terrible. No, you're not terrible. You're not like you've bragged up your roster before. I've seen you have good teams before. So don't sell yourself short here, especially when we're giving you the floor for an entire HSFL podcast. We touched on the Titans, or not the Titans. We touched on the Julio Jones aspect a little bit before. A.J. Brown was going super high in drafts again this year prior to the Jones trade. I was seeing him go as the 2nd receiver overall. Now you look – or not overall, but at the 2nd receiver off the board. Now he's got to deal with Julio Jones in this offense, who's going to command a certain amount of targets. Are you on board with selecting CeeDee Lamb who is part of that uber juggernaut offense that Dallas had last year until Dak Prescott went down. Are you down with selecting CeeDee Lamb over A.J. Brown because of the presence of Julio Jones?
Yes, and I have done so in drafts that I've done already this year. Before Dak got hurt, CeeDee Lamb was on pace to out fantasy score Amari Cooper.
As a rookie receiver too, by the way.
As a rookie receiver, right. So, and especially he's more of like the fly guy, like I was talking about. He just runs real fast in a straight line, catches balls, and does a really good job at doing that. I think with a healthy Dak, I think he's going to outperform Amari Cooper, and he's not really going to have to compete for much because he's just bigger and a better receiver than Cooper is.
That was going to be my next follow-up to that, because CeeDee Lamb right now is going – because Lamb and Cooper were basically back-to-back for quite a while.
Sure.
And now there's some separation. Lamb's at wide receiver 12. Cooper's at wide receiver 14. But you're looking – as far as picks go, how many picks are going off between them, you're looking at almost a half round. So Lamb is definitely – so you're still – at this point, the value is still with Lamb, even though he's going a half round earlier than Cooper.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And I wouldn't want to. It's hard to tell how the Titans situation is going to shake out with A.J. Brown and now Julio. I mean, Julio's still Julio, but he is aging. He is not quite as quick or as good as he used to be. I mean, not his hands, but like his legs aren't what they used to be. And while A.J. Brown is phenomenal, it's hard to tell where that ball is going to get spread on that offense. So with kind of like a clear cut, before Dak got hurt, Lamb was very much his go-to. I'm going to get the ball 70 yards down the field. I think that's the safer move. Not safer, but I think that's the more beneficial move between those four.
Cowboys, as long as we're talking about them, let's just run the gamut here. Michael Gallup, wide receiver 43 at the 902. Is there value in that?
Absolutely. No, absolutely not. People have been talking up Gallup for like, what, 2 or 3 years, and he never does anything.
And he's the number 3 guy there. I get it.
Yeah.
But so for you, it's like if you're going to talk about Dallas receivers, target Lamb, Cooper is okay, or you would avoid Cooper.
No, I would. I mean, if you have the ability to pick Cooper up for either
Lamb's
where his
gone.
ADP is or lower, like if you slip, if Lamb's already gone, and say Cooper falls a little bit, absolutely go for Cooper. He's still going to be very good.
You're avoiding Gallup in the.
But I'm absolutely, yeah. No, there's no like. He may catch a couple balls. He may get 2 or 3 touchdowns, but he's just going to sit on your bench all year unless somebody gets hurt.
We touched on this before, and I want to get a little bit deeper into the position. Let's say you are in the early 7th round of a football guy's draft. With not you, because you obviously don't play in them because you commission them.
Right.
You made up your mind. You don't have a tight end yet. You're going to grab one here. The 2 best options for you are Tyler Higbee on the Rams and Logan Thomas on the WFT. Which one do you go with?
First of all, I think both of them are better than Andrews.
Wow!
And
okay,
this is
so you would really hate Mark. Well, that's not. But you know, it's not really a commentary on Mark Andrews. You just don't like the quarterback there.
Correct, and that's not to say it. I think Lamar is a great fantasy quarterback. I think he's a great quarterback in general. He just can't
because of the
throw.
legs, right? Yeah,
because of his legs. Yeah. But if my choices are Andrews, Logan Thomas, or Tyler Higbee, I'm higher on Higbee and Thomas. One of them is from past experience because Higbee is now getting thrown to by Stafford. And I think, obviously, that Stafford is the second coming of football Jesus.
Who was the first coming of football Jesus? Jesus himself?
I really liked Young when I was little, Steve Young, because I'm from California. So Steve Young, watching him growing up was fun.
Jesus for Brice.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, when I was really little, he was.
That's fine. I get it. I totally get it. I'm not ripping on you. Higbee or Logan Thomas, if you could only choose one, you're picking Higbee over Thomas then?
No, actually, I'm picking Thomas.
Now this is interesting. I want to get into this. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here, not saying I agree with you, not saying I disagree with you. But Logan Thomas has to deal with a couple of factors. Number one, you got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who likes to pump the ball down the field. You already have Terry McLaurin there, plus the Washington football team went out and got Curtis Samuel. So my concern is Logan Thomas was such a volume guy last year. I don't know if that volume is still going to be there this year, and he's still going in the 7th round. Why do you like Logan Thomas over Higbee?
So Scary Terry is now a known factor that teams have to plan around. Curtis Samuel is also well known in the NFL, and people are going to figure out how he works in that offense. I think the safe move for Fitzpatrick, which I had to look this up, historically he does when he needs to kind of go to a guy that's a safe pass because he has to go through his reads, he hits a tight end fairly often. And I think Logan Thomas is the perfect type of target for the way Fitzpatrick plays his game. When he's being magic, not when he's being tragic, because who the hell knows what he's going to do then.
Nice.
Versus Stafford with Higbee. While Stafford likes his tight ends, and he obviously trusted Hawk when he was in Detroit, he has a lot more options and good options to throw to in LA. I mean, Robert Woods is fantastic. What's the other guy's name? The other receiver.
Cooper Kupp?
There you go, that guy. Those two are just better options than Higbee is. Higbee will be there, and he'll be probably a goal, an end zone threat when they're, 1st and 7 yards. But I think for the most part, Stafford has better options. He's going to utilize those options, and Fitzpatrick is going to kind of do what he does and hit tight ends fairly regularly. And I think Logan Thomas is still going to have that type of volume.
You just mentioned him, Robert Woods. They're going back to, he's going back to back essentially with Mike Evans in FFPC drafts right now. If somebody asked you, hey, Brice, you've seen a lot of drafts, who would you rather have here, Woods or Evans? Which one do you like to have the better season in 2021?
Woods, and it's not even close.
Really? Now, is this your Matthew Stafford love showing itself here?
No,
what's going on?
This is actually –
because to me it's close.
I don't think it's close. The way that Brady spreads balls around and the way that Tampa's structured, I think Woods is going to be the number one go-to guy for Stafford to hit. And this isn't a Stafford love thing. This is I don't like the way Tampa Bay set up, and for the most part, I want to avoid the crap out of them if I can.
Interesting. Well, okay,
Yeah.
But so you would like Brady then, because Brady is going to have all the weapons.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I would go after Brady, but as far as knowing what the receivers are going to do, I mean, I think Godwin's better than Evans. I just think that's a physical fact. But there's so many options, and the way that they run their playbook is just different than kind of every other team. And I think Woods is just going to be head and shoulders better than Evans is, fantasy-wise.
Antonio Brown at the end of the 8th round is wide receiver 40. You're still avoiding him there?
That's way too high.
Really?
If he was hanging out in like 11 or 12, sure.
Because I mean,
come on, let's be real. He's gonna get suspended again.
Well, listen, I'm not going to speculate to that level, but anything's possible, I suppose. But yeah, I guess there is some risk there, and maybe the risk is not baked in the 8th round because he's been climbing. He was going in like the 10th or 11th back, but I mean, I guess this was before he was re-signed by Tampa, so people were taking a chance on him then,
right?
And now there's less of a.
And now
risk. At least
back in that
he's on a team.
Goofy offense. Yeah, right, which is good. But I mean, he's on it's almost as weird of an offense as they ran in New England. Like it's similar, but I think honestly better the way that the Tampa Bay runs their offense. But it's very spread and it's very Brady. It's whoever he's going to go to. You can never really bank on this is the guy that's just going to get 15 targets a day. You have no idea, and that's the risk that you take with Tampa Bay players.
You touched on it at the top of the interview here, Brice. You've been trying to get on the HSFF hour for the better part of a decade. You are now on. Yeah. Okay. You have the ears of all the FFPC players. What do you want to tell them? What do you want to make sure that they know about whatever? And politics, religion are off limits. But you can talk about whatever.
Oh man, I don't even. Anybody who listens to this and knows me knows that I don't even allow them to talk about that in chat. Like I'm just like, no, keep that out of here. We don't do this. It's just going to start wars. No.
The Brice hammer.
Right. I've been called many things for that. The number one thing is, hey, can you just please show up on time? That'd be great. I mean, that's the number one thing that I've always wanted to tell everybody is, can you just be early and not show up 5 seconds before the draft starts? That'd be great. It would make my life unbunbelievably easier, and yours as well.
Or 5 minutes after the draft starts. I don't want to rip on people too bad, like, because stuff happens, right?
Right.
And you don't always get to the draft on time, but just if you are going to be late, you can just check, send us a message or let us know, or just let the FFPC know. and then that way
we have lots of ways for people to communicate with us.
Exactly. And not only that, with the draft pilot now, you can, set up auto draft rules. So you're basically getting the players that you want based on how the draft is going. And with the app, you and I post our phone numbers in there. Just shoot us a text, give us a call, tell us you're running a couple of minutes late, and no problem, we get it. Now, if you were
there's a lot of guys that I even just know their number.
there's repeat offenders out there that
are.
Whatever. I won't name any names, but no, we are very thankful you patronize the FFPC, and we wish that we could see you in the draft room more often and earlier, because we love your presence so much. So that's one thing.
I mean,
show up on time, says Brice. What else does Brice
that is the number one thing. It's just, please, like, you don't even really need to be there super early. Just, it would make my life so much easier if I didn't have to go, oh crap, where are you? But that's
what's funny.
I mean, I get it. Stuff happens.
Stream of consciousness right here. I remember back in the day, this was so many years ago. And we would want people in there 15 to 20 minutes before the draft started. Remember those days?
Oh man, that's
And like, then if like somebody wasn't in there 10 minutes before, I'm calling them, I'm texting them, I'm emailing them. And now it's just like, like so many people just show up within the last few minutes that often, we'll have, 5 missing players with 7 minutes to go. And then with 2 minutes to go, everybody's in there. Which is just,
I usually look at the order. Yeah. I look at the order of who's drafting. And like, when I see little red dots and who's missing, I start calling in order. I'm like, I have to worry about this guy first, because the other ones might show up later. So we're good there. Yeah. But no, I think our rules say that you should probably show up 5 minutes prior to the draft start. That'd be cool. Yeah. So that I just don't have to think about it, Yeah. But no, that's all good. I mean, it is what it is. And there's also people that I know.
I was just going to say, FFPC players are awesome when it comes to draft room etiquette, by and large.
Absolutely.
They're fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, how long have we been doing this? Like 10, 11 years? Something like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Really a long time? A decade?
Yeah. I don't know, because I'm trying to think, like, FFPC started in 2008, but I don't know if we were necessarily commissioning online drafts the very first year. I remember being in beautiful Northeast Wisconsin at like midnight or 12:30 in the morning, and I'd get emailed screenshots. I get emailed photos of live draft boards, and Diz will be like, all right, Bulky, just enter these rosters in. And I'd be up till like 4 in the morning entering roster. Like, I didn't look forward to it at all. But thankfully, technology has come a long way. So has the FFPC.
Right. I'm pretty sure my first year was 2011, because we were still using RT's draft software back then. The red and blue
absolutely.
One. Yeah. Yep. So for me, it's been about a decade, and it has come a very, very long way. And in my decade, I've had very, very little complaints about anything, because like you said, most of the people, 99.9% of the people that draft with us are fantastic.
Yeah, they're awesome. They make their jobs easy.
And really, my wanting to be on the show was mostly just to harass my best friend Bulky on his show.
Oh yeah, no question. No surprise there. We expect nothing less. We're going to give you the chance to harass a couple of emailers right now that sent in a couple of messages. Bill in Passaic, New Jersey writes, with so many good receivers in the Bengals offense, and Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, who is the right guy to draft in Football Guys and main event leagues this season? Thanks, Brice. That is Bill in Passaic, New Jersey. Brice, to give you the lay of the land when it comes to Bengals receivers right now, Jamar Chase is going off the board currently as wide receiver 19 at the end of the 4th round. T. Higgins, wide receiver 25 at the end of the 5th round, and Tyler Boyd, wide receiver 38 at the end of the 7th round. Where is the value there? And multiple answers are accepted.
Wow. I'm really surprised that Tyler Boyd is so low.
It's because everybody's just got their undies in a bundle over Higgins and Chase. I think that's what it is.
That's okay. So that to me is a little bit odd. And I mean, if you can nab Boyd at his ADP, that seems like fantastic value to me. He has proven himself to be perfectly capable of being the guy. And T. Higgins, don't get me wrong, is no slouch. He can handle his own. But I mean, between the three of those, Jamar Chase is still unknown. And I get that people want to nab their rookies early because he has this projected future to be fantastic. And I don't disagree. I think he is going to be very good. But the sure shot thing, if you can get Boyd that low, nail him. I would absolutely draft him where he is, and probably a little bit higher than that.
I was in a Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship checkered flag draft recently, and I did get Tyler Boyd on that team. I'm just looking it up right now to see where I got him. I remember it being fairly late. It was let's see. I guess it wasn't that late. I got him at the 6th round, but that's Kentucky scoring, where obviously, you have and Kentucky Linus, so you got to start 3 receivers. He's my number 3 there, and I'm okay with that. It is what it is. But I think as much as I don't want to say Chase and Higgins are duplicate players because I think Chase can do so much more, but they are more traditional downfield guys, and with the Bengals. I'm just trying to think who they have at tight end. I don't know if it's CJ Uzomah or who it is, but I feel like the underneath stuff is all going to be Boyd. I mean, it's such a great possession guy that I think to get him at the end of the 7th round, 2 rounds after T. Higgins, I like that. And obviously I'm a little bit biased because I obviously drafted him that night and got him on my team. Starting tight end for the Bengals, Drew Sample. Just looked it up.
Yeah, I just looked that up. I was like, and I saw his name. I'm like, I don't even know who the hell that is.
All right.
Like, I know who Uzomah is.
Yes, you do. Hopefully you know what the hell the answer will be to this next question from Mark in Imperial Beach, California. The Dolphins are emphasizing downfield passing with Tua Tagovailoa right now. Do we need to move up Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle on our draft boards as a result? Will Fuller currently going off the board. I just had it in front of me, and now it's gone, of course. Nice job, Bulky. Will Fuller going as wide receiver 46 at the 10:01. Jalen Waddle not far behind him, wide receiver 49 at the 10:05. So they're both basically early 10th round picks. Brice, does that feel right to you? As sort of like the top 45 receivers are off the board, you can go with a Dolphin, or should they be going higher?
I think that's probably about right where they should go, but I believe Waddle should go above Fuller. Isn't Fuller suspended for like 4 games or something?
I think it's only 2. I'm going to look it up right now. But I thought did he serve part of his suspension last year? I thought it was going to be like a split.
Suspension. That might be right. That sounds actually like you might be onto something there. I think at around the 40s, and that seems about right for what the Dolphins are doing. I'm still not completely sold on Tua. I know that Dolphins fans will probably come at me for saying that. I am very uncertain about whether or not he's the guy. He seems very not confident in his own abilities, even though in college it very much had a lot of abilities. That seems about accurate for me. I think Waddle should be above Fuller, though. I think Waddle has a higher ceiling than Fuller does.
All right,
even though Fuller is an absolute rocket.
Yeah. Will Fuller was suspended 6 games last year. He served 5 of them last season, so he's just serving a one game suspension this year. So he'll be back week 2.
Yeah.
Soft tissue issues pending. Because that guy is no stranger to the
fair.
Table. You never know what's going to happen there.
Right. Where is Devontae Parker going?
Yeah, that's another guy I took in that same draft, Brice. He's a player too
yikes.
that I think is going well, but I mean I paid much lesser price for him. Wide receiver 57.
I hope so.
At the 12:06. So
that's probably too high.
in the 12th round, because that's where he's going in FFPC. I mean, I guess if you like Waddle and you like Fuller, it's tough to like Parker too with Tagovailoa at quarterback.
I don't know why anybody would like Parker. That dude can't do anything right, in my opinion.
But keep in mind, last year, like Parker was not exactly a stone. He was a guy that, when given the opportunity, and I know the Dolphins declined his 5th-year option, essentially making him a free agent. But like last year, dude, 63 catches, 800 yards, 4 touchdowns. It's not terrible.
I'm actually surprised at how many targets he has. Although 103 targets for 63 catches is a little bit concerning, but that may be more of a Tua thing than a him thing.
Yeah, that could be too. But the year before too, think about that: 72 catches, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns. That was really, really good.
Yeah.
So I get it. And maybe another year of Tagovailoa, but like I said, it's difficult if you like Fuller and Waddle. it's difficult to like Parker, especially consider that the Dolphins already had Parker and still went out and got Waddle in the top 10 of the NFL draft. So, or top 15 in the NFL draft, whatever it was. I don't recall it this time. Not important. No one cares. Let's move on.
Right.
Brice, you're going to hang out and we're going to talk about some of the news going around the NFL in just a little bit. But before we get to that,
Sure.
a player that you will be avoiding drafting early in leagues this year or late, it doesn't matter, just a player in general that will not be on any of your teams. And then a sleeper when we get to the middle to latter part of drafts that you will want on as many teams as possible.
Okay. I mean, so obviously the easy answer for players that I'm going to avoid, I don't even know if this counts as going early, but I won't touch Aaron Rodgers with a 10-foot pole because nobody has any idea what he's going to do. The other one that I don't like when it comes to early is, now I've totally spaced his name.
Who's he play for?
Give me a second here.
All right.
Running back.
Hold on, real quick while you look that up. Who would you rather have this year at quarterback? Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson?
Oh my God, Rodgers. I don't want to.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, just wondering.
If anything about Watson's true, that dude's going to prison.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Who's the running back? Who's the running back?
The Pittsburgh guy, Najee Harris.
Oh, Najee Harris, another guy I drafted in that same Kentucky draft, Brice.
There is no way I'm touching him. I would stay far, far, far away from him. Now,
why is that? Is that because you don't like the offensive line? Is it because he's a rookie? What's the deal with
it's 100% because of the offensive line. Like we watch enough, like my wife and I watch enough Steelers football because she's a Steelers fan, that O-line is absolute garbage. They didn't really do anything to address it in the offseason or the draft. And Najee Harris is just going to have a truly difficult time doing anything.
And David DeCastro just retired. Now they did replace him with Trey Turner, which might actually be better. That might be an
probably
upgrade on the offensive line. But I get it because now the thing is, if you weren't on Harris before, and I'll be honest with you, that was the only league I have Najee Harris in. But if you weren't on him before, it's tough to be on him now because his price is climbing. 205 in Football Guys drafts as running back number 12. That's right before, or beg your pardon, right after Antonio Gibson and Nick Chubb. It's right before Joe Mixon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Brice, you'd rather have DeAndre Swift than Najee Harris, right?
Oh, God, yeah. That's not even close.
Okay. Let's talk about sleepers then.
Sure. This one goes back to apparently this is the tight end podcast, Mo Alley Cox.
Oh, for Indianapolis, sure.
Yeah, I think he is going to be low-key really, really good. He fits the same kind of tight end profile that Carson Wentz is used to throwing to with Ertz and Goddard. And that Indianapolis team is sneaky good. That O-line's good. I think they have good coaching. I think Wentz, if he can survive being hit by a slight breeze, will make his receiving core and very much his tight ends fantasy point monsters. I think Mo Alley Cox could be very, very good.
Mo Alley Cox is going as wide receiver, tight end 32 at the 1806 at Football Guys drafts right now. So, listeners, you can get Brice's sleeper tight end as your third tight end pretty easily in the 18th round and grab Mo Alley Cox. Just to bring this up too, as long as we're talking about Indy tight ends, Jack Doyle isn't being drafted right now. I guess he's an afterthought for not only FFPC drafters but you as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude's got stone for hands. He's like Ebron.
All right. Let's move on now that we've gotten to know your thoughts, your likes, your dislikes, your favorite topping on pizza, your favorite colors, everything like that. Let's get into the fantasy
mushrooms
flash.
And spinach.
There you go. We're delving deep tonight. Let's get into the fantasy flash. Thanks to Football Guys, Draft Sharks, NBC Sports Edge, and Rob for tonight's fantasy flash. Let's just continue talking about the Colts, Brice. The Athletic had a report about Frank Reich talking about the running game there, going through Jonathan Taylor, who is, quote, earned the right to be the main guy in the Colts backfield. Now, if we look at Taylor's rookie season, starting in week 11, he was the running back 8 in half PPR leagues, which we don't have in the FFPC for running backs. But he averaged a little over 22 touches a game in that span. He also scored 6 touchdowns to close out the season. Marlon Mack is back this year after missing every game except for one with a torn Achilles. He gets the 1-year deal this offseason. Zach Kiefer, who covers the Colts for The Athletic, says that he thinks Taylor's going to get 60% of the carries for Indianapolis. Now, right now, we touched on this earlier. Jonathan Taylor is being drafted as a running back 8 at the 110 in Football Guys drafts. Does not sound like a spot you want to be selecting Taylor, right, Brice?
No, for me, no. I think with Matt coming back and just how receiver heavy,
there
I
catching
believe.
passes too. There,
Yeah,
it's not like
yeah,
he's going to
exactly.
get a ton of catches.
Right. I think he is should be more similar to the middle to the end of the second round. I think he's going to be good. Don't get me wrong. He was fantastic last year. I think he was better than expectations. And I still think he's going to be very good. But with the way Wentz plays and the way he likes to throw and throw well into that Indianapolis core, I think it's not going to be nearly like what it was last year. I think he's definitely going way too high.
I'm just looking at this. From week 11 on, Taylor ended up catching 10 passes last year, which, I mean, that's like, what are we looking at here? Like a third of a season, maybe. So that's like,
right.
He probably ends up between 25 and 30 catches. I love my pass catching running backs. I don't know if I can, even with the upside, I don't know if I can get on board with Jonathan Taylor at the end of the first round right now. Okay, moving on. The Athletics, Connor Hughes, who covers the Jets for that publication, says that Zach Wilson looks comfortable, beg your pardon was the quote, in Mike LaFleur's new offense during OTAs and this minicamp this year. Wilson was, quote, accurate, aggressive, and regularly in control all throughout the spring. Now, this is the spring. This isn't,
right.
It's not even preseason or real training camp yet. But he does get Corey Davis, Keelan Cole, Jameson Crowder, Elijah Moore, Denzel Mims. That's a massively upgraded receiver core than what Sam Darnold had last year. It should be a better offense with Mike LaFleur running things there now. And you got to remember, too, Zach Wilson can still make plays with his legs as well. I don't want to get too crazy with Zach Wilson here. Nobody's drafting him as a starter. Quite frankly, if he's being drafted as running back 27, so he's almost not even being drafted as a backup. He's like a third quarterback right now. But Brice, not so much about Wilson here, but what are your thoughts on the Jets receivers here in general? I mean, how good is this offense going to be for fantasy owners?
Obviously it's really hard to tell because we haven't seen it play. If Zach Wilson is everything that he is kind of reputed to be and reported to be, I think it's going to be kind of a crapshoot of who's going to kind of lead the pack as wide receivers here. Corey Davis is obviously very, very good. I think he's going to be the standout wide receiver for the Jets, but it's one of those, it's so unknown. It's kind of really hard to predict it. Keelan Cole and Jameson Crowder, I'm not all that high on. I like Elijah Moore a lot. It wouldn't surprise me based on what all four of those guys can do if the 1 and 2 were Davis and Elijah Moore. But we need to actually see something from Zach Wilson to be able to draft any of those guys with any real confidence. And I would be not trying to go after them at ADP, hope that they slide if you're going to pick them up as a second or third option in your team, and probably just let Wilson be a fly or a streamer option at QB because nobody has any. I mean, it's the Jets. The Jets should be good sometimes, depending on how their roster has historically been stacked, but it's the Jets.
Elijah Moore is the top. He's the first Jets receiver being drafted right now, and not till the 10:02. Wide receiver 47. Corey Davis going wide receiver 52. About 2 rounds later after that. So, yeah, I mean, pretty good values on those guys, but values have to actually produce on the field. So I don't know how, Elijah Moore's been climbing up. He's been climbing up draft boards lately.
That's actually surprises me that Moore is going before Davis. I think Davis is
Me too.
A very undervalued and underappreciated receiver for what he is capable of and just how big the dude is. Like he's an easy target to hit. Sorry,
I have Aaron in my ear right now. All right, okay, let's get back on track here. Mike Williams going to be playing the X receiver in Joe Lombardi's offense out in Los Angeles for the Chargers. This according once again to The Athletic. Now, Joe Lombardi, former offensive coordinator former quarterback coach for the New Orleans Saints, This was the position that Michael Thomas played there. Now, Daniel Popper, who wrote this piece, said Mike Williams should actually get a lot of targets, and this is a contract year. So everything's on the table for Mike Williams. He shouldn't need any more motivation to have a big year, whether he sticks with the Chargers on his next deal or if he goes elsewhere, sort of like what Corey Davis did last year. Now, I got to believe the Chargers know that Keenan Allen is how their bread is buttered, and they're going to pepper him with a ton of targets. You'd like to think that Williams has a bigger year this year, Brice. But, I mean, how big is it going to be when you have Keenan Allen sucking up all those targets? Mike Williams, wide receiver 45 at the 909 right now. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I can be persuaded. Your thoughts?
I'm with you on this where I'm not convinced for multiple reasons. One, Keenan Allen obviously is Keenan Allen. He's going to, like you said, eat a ton of targets. I think Eckler is also going to be kind of the second option when the ball just gets dumped off in the field. The biggest issue I have with the Chargers, and I really like Justin Herbert. I think he's electric and fun to watch. Joe Lombardi sucks. And he was the offensive coordinator in the Lions for 2 years, and Joe Lombardi sucks.
Well, maybe the talent.
And I'm not. This was 2014, 2015. This is when we still had a decent roster, right, or the Lions. Sorry, the Lions still had a decent roster.
You know better than me, so I will check to you on this one.
I mean, the Lions are historically cursed. We know this. We understand this, But Joe Lombardi made that offense in 2014, 2015 absolutely anemic, especially for receivers. And I'm curious to see how that's going to work out and if he's changed the way he allows the offense to develop, because Herbert obviously can just huck the ball to whoever he's going to. But I'm not sold. I think Keenan Allen will be fine. I mean, I don't know where he's getting drafted. I would hope not till the end of the second or the third. And Eckler is, like I said, going to get a bunch of looks in the passing game, but I'm not sold on Mike Williams. I don't think it's going to be anything special for him this year. I think it's going to be kind of the same he's done his entire career, which is, yep.
I feel like I've unfairly penalized Mike Williams since he was a rookie. I didn't like him in rookie drafts. I didn't want to draft him that year. And I drafted him as one Kentucky draft. I don't think it was last year. I think it was 2 years ago. I took him, but everybody must have in that draft must have hated him more than me, because he was like my wide receiver 6 or wide receiver 7. There's no way he should have been still out there. That's the only time I've ever drafted Mike Williams. To answer your Keenan Allen question, wide receiver 10 at the 305 right now. So
that's
you're
perfect.
all over that.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's fine. I think he's going to be a decent receiver because he's Keenan Allen and he has Justin Herbert throwing to him. That's perfect. But as far as like interesting and well thought out offensive game plans, Joe Lombardi couldn't offensively game plan his way out of a paper bag, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, we'll find out in Los Angeles this year, too.
And I really don't want to, because I really like Herbert and I like the Chargers. It's my home city. I'm from San Diego. Now they're in LA, which sucks. But like, they're my home team if I have to like go back to where my roots are. And like, I love watching them. But God, he sucked when he was with Detroit.
Well, he does. I mean, it is a talent upgrade, at least for the Chargers this year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so there's hope.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Joe Biscaglia's report from, once again, The Athletic. You guessed it. We're mining that website pretty hard for the show. Biscaglia said that Zach Moss could, quote, take over the backfield in 2021 if he continues to improve. Now, this is key because these aren't your father's Bills. This is Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, like big-time playmakers on this offense, and it's going to put up points again last year. Now, if he is taking over the backfield, you're probably looking at 2/3, maybe 70% of all the touches there, or at least the snaps. He's going in the 9th or 10th round, which is, if that's the case, dude, he's going to fly up draft boards at least 6 or 7 rounds. Moss was a 3rd-round pick last year out of Vanderbilt, if I remember correctly. Biscaglia says his receiving skills are underrated. He says he's the best runner they have between the tackles, and has a punishing running style that maximized attempts. He is the Bills' preferred goal line back as well. Last year, he had turf toe, never really got going. When he did, he was fumbling the football. and Devin Singletary sort of got another shot at being the bell cow there. Singletary did almost nothing with it. So the Bills, while they have the opportunity there, Brice, I don't know if they have the talent. Are you on board with Zach Moss in the 9th or the 10th round based on this report from their beat writer?
Where's Devin Singletary going?
That's a great question, and I'm going to look that up right now. Devin Singletary, thank
Also,
you, Fantasy Mojo. Running back 48 at the end of the 11th round. So basically, and I should tell you,
Moss
too,
is going before Singletary?
Yeah, Zach Moss, running back 38 at the 904.
Man, that seems like a mistake. I mean,
but keep in mind this too. Like, so he was hurt last year, right? Singletary was not. Singletary just didn't perform, and they already had Singletary on the roster when they drafted Zach Moss in the 3rd round. So I think if you read the tea leaves here, the bump up in rounds for Moss over Singletary probably due to what the front office and what the coaches think of both those players too.
Are we saying that he didn't perform in 2020? 700 yards? Like, I mean, only 2 touchdowns, but 700.
But think about this. Think about the offense that he was in, and think about what a lead back in the offense should be.
I suppose. So, and the Bills added Matt Breida to their team this year.
Now that is an interesting guy because that dude can catch passes. And the other thing too is like he's basically free in drafts right now. And you'd like to think now the key is if you draft him on a Football Guys team, you kind of got to know like when to start him, right? So it's gonna take injuries to Moss and Singletary, and Breida's not very durable as well. So you may only get like 1 or 2 games out of him, and you got to figure out when that is. But he's interesting in best ball for sure.
Oh, absolutely. That's a hard one. I mean, I get like Zach Moss has the potential to be good, especially with his physical abilities and just how explosive he can be. But I mean, man, with those running backs on that team are just like a bull in a china shop waiting to happen. Like all 3 of them could go down very quickly. And maybe not Singletary; he's a little bit durable, but he's not nearly as interesting as Breida or Moss. But man, that could be a disaster for Buffalo. But it's not like they need it. I mean, he's just going to huck balls at receivers and score touchdowns anyways.
Well, Brice, I to be the bearer of bad news for our listeners, because you and I, once we get together and talk shop, we gab too much, and now we don't have time for emails,
right? Which
is okay. We'll do emails another time, I promise you. Where can everybody listen to the Hard Edition podcast?
The Hard Edition is Jesus. Now I need to look this up. You can find it. You can find it everywhere except for Apple. It's currently on a bit of hiatus while we figure out scheduling stuff because people got new jobs and
by the way, I didn't even tease this. Tell a little bit about what the Hard Edition podcast is, because most people who listen to this show listen to a lot of fantasy football podcasts. This is not a specific fantasy football podcast.
Oh no, it doesn't have anything to do with fantasy football. It is a kind of catch-all news podcast. So anything from what's going on in politics, what's going on in the world, what's going on with interesting subjects week to week, what's going on in sports, all of them. There's a running joke that it's a baseball podcast because 3 of the 4 of us that do the podcast are huge baseball fans. 2 of them which all have press credentials for the San Francisco Giants.
Nice.
So that kind of there's a lot of baseball involved, but we talk a little bit at shop about kind of everything. There's episodes you can listen to that go back a couple months, I think to the beginning of the year is when we started it. But like I said, currently it's on a little bit of a hiatus till we figure out scheduling issues because we're all adults and we have families and lives. Once we figure all that out, it'll be going again, presumably. But yeah, you can find it everywhere except for Apple because Apple's blocking us because they get mad at us about something with naming. But Spotify, Android, you can go to podbean.com/Hard Edition. We're there. It's fairly easy to find us.
And we will all follow you on Twitter at Brice Masters. I assume once you guys get that going again, you'll just tweet out a link probably.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Brice, we will see you in the draft rooms. What a pleasure this was to do the podcast with you. Actually, I won't see you in the draft rooms, but the listeners will as we get deeper and deeper into commissioning drafts this summer. Thanks so much for doing the show, and I'll see you at work.
Of course. I'll see you later, man.
That will do it for this evening's show this week. Appreciate everybody listening. Want to thank Brice Masters, the FFPC, Rob, and of course, each and every one of you for listening. We will be back next Friday live at 10/9 Central with 7-time FFPC and FPC champ, and of course, 2021 Pros versus Joe's drafter, Beth Riches. Register for our inaugural best ball tournament today. $100,000 grand prize, $125 to enter in that. Of course, get in on the Dynasty Startups and the Football Guys Players Championship. That's going strong right now. $500,000 for first place, first time ever. $100,000 for second. You don't even have to win the thing to get a six-figure grand prize. Only a $350 entry there. Remember, you're getting $400 off each main event team on your account today. Join the 2021 KFFSC main event. Compete against me there as well. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next Friday. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com. It was broadcast live and heard around the world. Balky and Farrell will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.